Derlene Hirtz. Derlene recalls the day she blurted out to God, "If today is the day, I'm ready to go." It scared her into action. She made the call she had been resisting for many months. She called a life coach. By the time she hung up, Derlene saw a twinkle of hope. She has never looked back. She formed You.Empowered Services, a coaching and speaking business. She is the author of the best-selling book, Journey of Intention, Life Made to Order. Derlene earned the Master Level NLP and Integrated Timeline Therapy certification. She is an NLP certified trainer, certified NLP coach, and holds a degree in education. Understanding we are all called to change our world, Derlene shares with us the people she has met along her journey that have influenced her so profoundly. She cannot be the woman she was yesterday. She is, in fact, an even better version. Her goal is to help others seek their very best self despite the obstacles in life that sometimes stop them in their tracks. As her coach, Stacy O'Byrne, always says, choice is a powerful thing, suffering is optional. Her talk today, Living in Color, Where Do You Stand or Sit, for that matter, shares her story that of many people who she has met that are changing our world. Please give a warm welcome to Derlene Hirtz.
Thank you. Who here is out to change the world? I set out to change the world too. But guess what happened? The world changed me. In January, I set a goal to meet 1,200 people. Well, that's not exactly true. My first goal was to meet 200 people. And then we took a break. I went to the bathroom. I met 3 people. And I came back and I thought, I'm already down to 197. That's not very lofty. So I sat down and I put a 1 in front of my 2. And I began meeting people. And it's been very interesting, the people that I've met. I qualified them in color. I've met grays and purples and reds. Grays look like this. Gray is a color of compromise. It's neither black nor white, detached, kind of indifferent. Grays, studies show, is where most people reside. And I find it very interesting that gray is such a popular color today. Very interesting. And then you have your purples. Purple is the color of imagination, but also immaturity and impractical. And then you have your reds. Reds are the color of passion and purpose and action and ambition and energy. I'm very familiar with grays. Grays look like this. I'm happy enough. They plod along their day, and they're okay with that, until one day they'll complain. But then they think, I'm happy enough. Very familiar with grays because that's where I lived for a very long time. Decades, actually. My life was not horrible. It wasn't amazing. It was mundane and predictable. And I was alive. I went along with the crowd because, hey, it was something to do. I didn't allow myself to dream because, really, that's kind of scary. And what if I fail? I remember the day that I chose to no longer be gray. I was in a conversation with a friend of mine, and he used his hands, and he said, Derlene, he said, this is your life. You married at 19, and you hold that against yourself. And so you've made this mold, and you fit this mold just perfect. And then something would happen where you would think, oh, I want to try this. So you would go out, and you would try something new, and then boom, back in you would go because you were safe there. You knew you were survived there, and you knew exactly what to expect. And so then once again, You'd pull away after a couple of years, and you'd try something new, and boom, back in you would go. Because once again, you knew you would survive there. And the third time that he took his hand down, I said, stop, right there, because I just broke that mold. That mold no longer exists for me, and I cannot go back to anywhere that doesn't exist. And that's the day I broke the mold. Those color purples that I talked about, the imaginative ones, they really like to imagine themselves with the biggest TV and the most programs on cable so that they can sit back in their couch and eat everything they want because life is all about them, and they deserve that. And then you have your reds. You have your reds that really get it. Life is about serving one another. That's where reds reside, and they do that with passion and purpose. They go into action and they're ambitious. And I've met so many reds in meeting my 1,200 people. The first person I met was Larry. The first day after the seminar, I took a plane, was sitting in Phoenix, and thought, well, time to get started on meeting my 1,200. So I walked up to Larry and I said, hi, Larry. My name's Derlene Hirtz, and I have a goal to meet 1,200 people. Would you be willing to play along? Yeah, I guess. Well, I'm Derlene. You are? He said, I'm Larry. So, Larry, what do you do to change the world? And he kind of looked at me and he sat back in his chair and he goes, it is my goal for people to really understand how important they are in the world. And I said, Larry, that's my goal too. This is great. I was off to a great start. I was feeling pretty confident. So I look across the room and I see a young woman sitting in the back, and I thought, she has introvert, introvert, introvert written all over her. Please don't talk to me. Please don't talk to me. Hi, my name's Derlene. And she said she'd play along. What do you do to change the world? She said, well, I help people reach their physical goals. She was a physical trainer. And then she said, and I like to bike. And I was all in, because that's what I love to do too. Except she's a biker on steroids. She races and goes up hills, and I ride on the Katy Trail. And then I met, on the Katy Trail, I met Esther and David. Esther is from Kenya. David is from St. Louis. They got married in May. I met them in March. And I said, it's my goal. Would you play along? Esther, what do you do to change the world? She had this beautiful smile on her face, and she said, well, I like to make people smile through my work. To which David says, oh, no, she doesn't get away with that. Ask her what her work is. And in fact, in Kenya, the work that Esther has done has given voice to women that has reduced the incidence of rape by 38%. And I am sitting there in front of this beautiful 20-something-year-old woman and thinking, thank you. Thank you for the work that you do. And then I look at David and say, thinking to myself, try to top that. So David, what do you do? Well, I work in Africa, and we build houses to house children and women that have been affected by the atrocities of rape. I'm looking at these young couples thinking, this is awesome. What a great gift I am receiving. And I took it in. I met Nick, an accountant. Nick, what do you do to change the world? I'm an accountant. I don't change the world. Really, Nick? You keep people's books for them? Yeah. So you're telling me you keep people out of jail, Nick? Well, I suppose I do. Well, Nick, on behalf of me, thank you, because orange, not my color. Those stripes go the wrong way for a lady. So thank you for that. And he walked away happy. And in that moment, I got to see that not only do I receive, I get to give. And the many people that I've met. Reds get it. Jim Rohn tells us, surround ourselves by the 5 people that we want to be defined by. So I want to hang out with reds because I need them in my inner circle. And I also am very much aware that I am somebody else's red. I need to be aware of that. So as we go through our life, we get to make a choice. Reds clearly understand that they make the choice to be happy, to be sad. They make the choice to be ambitious or to be a purple. Reds get it. And so I ask you, who do you know in your life? Maybe it's you. Perhaps it's a divorced woman who has lost her sense of purpose, who lost her self-identity, and she cannot move forward. She is stuck and paralyzed by the choices somebody made in their lives. Or the young executive who knew making it to the top and the biggest dollar he made, that was what success was, until he redefined his version of success, and now he's missing out. Or how about those of us who actually listened to what other people said to us, and we defined ourselves by what other people thought? How about the confidence that can come from recognizing that that's exactly what it was with somebody else's opinion? For you are made by a God in an image that is so much more than somebody's definition of who you are. Those are the people that I enjoy working with. Those are the people that I can help shift their life from one of gray to red, if they so choose. Now listen, if you choose to live as a gray, I'm all for you. But for those who want to move on and live with a different kind or a better ambition or action, have more energy behind what they do, then I'm the person for you to call. I think when somebody says to me, Derlene, what do you do to change the world? I'm going to tell them, living with the reds, working with the grays, changing people's lives as they change mine. Because you see, life is all about living in color. So I ask you, what color would you like to be?